somebody would have told you in your 10th standard or 11th or 12th standard that you will have to actually work so hard in a graduation, would you have joined that course?
Uh, I think I would, um, because it's a trade off, right? So if you see the cons that it's working too hard, you see the pros that you're getting out of a college, which is probably making you much more smarter when you talk about the labor supply space, right? You have an edge. So for me, I've been a little ambitious from the beginning, in the sense that I've wanted to go to a good college, get good grades. I mean, whatever at that age seems ambitious, I've wanted to do it. So if somebody told me, 5 years later, your life would have been very easy if you do this, I'd probably do it. I'd have gone for the course and struggled for those 5 years to get a promising prospect, a better start to my career. I would have done it.
So, when you are preparing, there are a lot of students right now in the test series phase. Okay,
All
so
right.
in the test series phase, writing tests and the exams are getting delayed. So, they want to take the
I,
test, the exams are getting delayed. So, they again prepare and the exams are getting delayed. So, one, how was your test series? When you were preparing, was it too stressful when you were taking tests because there must be some anxiety? You are preparing again and again new exams because the season here in the BBA entrances and schooling entrances a bit more hectic than typically in the post graduation because you have maybe 15, 20, 30 entrance exams in a matter of a month or 2 months.
right.
Everyone is doing the process, so you know dates also clash here and there. So,
Right.
what was the kind of stress or anxiety, or how were you preparing, taking tests and setting yourself? Because the students currently are in that space. So, any word of advice there?
Um, so I'd say use that anxiety to your benefit, I would suggest. So actually, I also have a sister who's giving IP Mat this year, and I see
Oh,
her going through, yeah. So I see her going through this problem because she's preparing for exams and then they're getting delayed, and suddenly there's no more motivation to prepare for the exam. But um, so this is what I've told her, and this is what I'll tell all of you. Uh, while you are not preparing, there are 100 other people who are probably thinking of it as more time and preparing. So what I'm trying to say is that while I understand that it gets really difficult to keep remaking your schedules as per new dates, what you have right now at your hand is a good enough time to become more accurate. When I say accurate, I mean, do not do not do not go in the rat race of knowing everything, solving everything. मुझे ये क्वेश्चन क्यों नहीं आ रहा, मुझे ये एग्जाम में इतने कम मार्क्स क्यों आए. I mean, all of these things are not that are not as important as you understanding that in that 120 minutes exam you will have 100 questions, and those 100 questions will can be 50 easy questions that you've seen in your life, but just because you couldn't be accurate, you couldn't manage your time, you're just not able to get through. So my point being that what is important for you right now is to learn how to manage your time. Even if it's not through exams, it can be your own parameters that you said that okay, these are 40 questions. In a normal exam, I wouldn't give 1 minute more to any question. Probably give it 1 minute, solve it or not solve it, or whatever your strategy is. Okay, you know it best. Do that with your normal questions. Try to sit down, try to solve it in that same time frame. If you don't know it, learn how to skip questions. It's the art of an MCQ paper. Learn how to skip questions, because when you think you can solve everything, you will never skip the questions that didn't require or need the time that you had. So you've had a good crash course, or you've had a good 1 year 2 year course, for also for that matter, learning the same things. What you need to do right now is to basically sit down, mentally tell yourself, how should I approach the exam and not the syllabus. The syllabus is done, that's dusted for now. You can't There's not much you can do except for vocab. Okay, you should every day do vocab, that's a must. But for maths, for logical reasoning, I mean, there's no GK and IP math, that's a good. But all of these things, you need to sit down and prepare for the exam, and not the syllabus anymore. Like, I mean, I'll tell you honestly, okay. When I had my exam, we had, again, six. We didn't have sectional. I think we didn't have sectional timing as far as I remember. We had 60 questions, 40 questions, and we had sectional times, but we didn't have anything else. Like, though nothing fixed for that matter. So I only attempted 18 questions in maths, and when I came out of the paper, I went to sir and I'm like, sir, मेरा तो नहीं हो रहा, मैंने 18 questions किए सिर्फ maths में, and 18 felt so low because it is what, one third, less than one third of the questions on the paper in almost 75 minutes, right? Now I came back. The day I got the result, the cutoff came out to be 40 right answers for general, 40 marks for general, which basically means 10 net correct answers. So you sort of realize that people are not, the cutoff's not high. The cutoff is not high. What is going wrong for you or for somebody else is the fact that you try to solve the first 10 questions when they're smart enough to put 10 hard questions there, so that you never reach the 11th question. I mean, there's a lot of things that they do that you understand. So all I'm saying is prepare for the exam and not for the syllabus anymore. Learn how to approach questions, and I'm pretty sure the faculty at Endeavor will be doing a great job in telling you क्या तुमको करना चाहिए, क्या तुमको छोड़ देना चाहिए, या कितने सेक्शन में कितने क्वेश्चंस अटेम्प्ट करो, इंग्लिश में ज्यादा करो, मैथ्स में कम करो. All of these things happen. So listen to them more than trying to learn every topic in the book. You have 10 strengths, do those 10 strengths in a way that any question ever in that book, if it comes to you, you know how to solve it, because that's your strength. And you can leave. I hated algebra. I never touched a question of algebra. I'm like, I didn't like it. I thought, I'm like, I'll spend my time, I'll rack my head, I'll even get it right, but it's not worth it at that point of time, because you're in that limited space and time. You don't want to waste your time doing something that you're not good at, probably. So that's what I would suggest.
But yeah, very, very interesting advice here. So now, once the written happened,
Right.
as you got the call, there is obviously a PI. So was that put pressure, or how did you handle the interviews across? Because must be your first interviews. You guys
Yeah.
would have if you're a 12th commerce, you would not have done many interviews. Maybe school as a kid, you would have done some interview, right?
Right. So when I got my call for the PI stage, it was far more tense than writing the exam, because when you're sitting for an interview, you can be asked anything under the sun, and there's no chance of you getting in. With an exam, I know that 20,000 people who've registered are probably writing the same exam as I am. So there's a lot of objectivity. With personal interviews, there's no objectivity. Everything is very subjective to the panel that you're sitting in front of, and your own preparation, of course. So I know friends who've gotten in on the basis of a single book they read, on the basis of a single movie they saw, on the basis of their only interest, because interests become very important when you're giving an IPMAT interview. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So they're looking for two things. They're looking for people who are confident enough to put forward what they feel. So I can be wrong, and they will tell me that I'm wrong. But at that point of time, if I keep arguing that no, I think I'm right, that does not mean I'm confident. That just means I'm overconfident. And when I've been asked a question and I've been told कि इसका आंसर दो, मुझे पता है, मुझे it's in my subject list. I've probably gotten a 98 out of 100 in my boards in that subject, and if I can't answer a basic question because I'm just underconfident, that also is not the spirit that they're looking for. So if you tell me कि नहीं तुमने ये चीज गलत बोला, I can always reply by saying that okay sir, I'll go back and look at it, maybe I got it wrong, but I think this is the correct answer. Your overconfidence and underconfidence will not help in a panel, because you are being admitted into a program where you'll be 120 good people, right? You can't keep telling them that you know what you know. That's not the approach. That was one thing that I was pretty sure they were checking. The second thing that they do check is a little bit of your subject knowledge, whatever stream you've picked, but they always give you the option. So they'll be like, what subject do you like better, or do you like most? So prepare one subject, maybe two. Maths becomes a little important. So maths, if you have, do it. If you don't, then there's other subjects on the file to pick you up. But if that's the case, they'll ask you these questions and they'll try to judge your subject knowledge a little. They'll do a rapid fire, randomly keep asking you questions about the subject till you get one wrong, and they'll be like, okay, and you'll feel like, oh my god, what did I do? But I mean, again, in hindsight, I was about to cry when I came out of the interview room, even though I had a decent interview. But the point being that it's a very pressure stress test situation where they're trying to assess how good you can work, or you can be under somebody's intimidation or someone's authority, or in a room where there's so much of anxiety all around or inside your head. apart from that, they don't really care about what you've done so much in life. They didn't even open my resume book or check it or my certificates. All they asked me was, what do you like? What do you think is your most significant achievement? And you tell your story, you weave your story, you lead the interview. So the most important part in understanding how to approach an interview is to be prepared for the next question when you answer a question. So it's like saying, if somebody asks me, what's your interest? And suppose I say dancing, by mistake in a hurry, of course their next question will be on dancing, right? That's how they're also forming their interview. So you pick your answers. So if an interview goes wrong, it's actually sort of your fault because you led them in the wrong direction. So what you say becomes extremely important because that's how much they know you. So my interview started with them asking me them asking me, why do you have such a name? So I was like, my mother picked it, and they wanted to know the story behind my name first before they asked me anything else. Then they started asking me about a little bit about my family when I said that, okay, my mother chose my name for me. Then they started asking me about my family, that what do I like, what do I not like. Then they moved on to ask me, oh, so you're from a business family. Is that why you took commerce? So I'm like, no, that was not the reason. And I frankly told them, I just eliminated my options. And I till date do not think that's a wrong thing to do, even for yourself. So then they said, okay. So then they started asking me questions from maths, economics, accounts, rapid fire. One professor asking me one stream question, somebody else asking me something else. And then they came to GK. Again, GK becomes extremely important. How much ever you don't like it, at least know your current affairs. Just know what's happening and have an opinion about it. So the time I was giving my interview, there were farmer riots in Madhya Pradesh. Read about it. You're going to Madhya Pradesh. So then I started reading about it, and they asked me a question, and they asked me the economic implication of that situation. They asked me, okay, what will happen to the supply of crops? What will happen to the demand of crops, tomato, something? And I told them, so economics I knew, current affairs I didn't, but you should know how to link something. So your current affair basically is a reason to know, okay, what is your opinion on something, or do you have an opinion on it? So yeah, that is how it sort of progressed. And then the time I gave my first incorrect answer is what I think. They're like, okay, up chale jao. And you feel like, what? That's just the first incorrect answer that I've given. They'll be like, okay, thank you. They'll not say anything. Poker face, and you'll be out of the room. And then I got the call. So all I'm saying is it's a stressful experience, but lead it your way. I mean, say what you know best, because that's the key. What you know best becomes something that they can't question you on, because you know it. If you know your subject, everything else is okay.
And one thing which you said, that if you don't know something, it's okay. You don't know it. You can try to learn, and they obviously they are learned people and they'll know more than you. So if you don't know some question, you don't need to stress about it. Right?
So I think after a point of time, they were aware that I knew my subjects. Then they just started messing with me, just seeing how much I'm losing it when they just even giving me questions. So they sent me out because they realized that they knew enough to judge me, but that was just like a stress situation. Okay. But yeah.
Those faculties, when you entered the college, you could identify them?
I recognized two professors. I didn't recognize the third one. I think he was a very senior professor, probably teaching MBA classes right now. So maybe I'll see him in a few days. Maybe, yeah.
So now where are you heading? Now you're in the first year of your
yeah, my MBA.
What is your career direction? What are you thinking? What do you want to do? How do you want to move forward? Any thoughts? So you want to see, generally in MBA also first year people try to explore more before taking the call. Where are you?
So
and not the option of dropping off. Is there an option of dropping off?
Right. I'll come to it.
But no, because most of these integrated programs don't have it, I guess.
So since last year, there's an option for sabbatical which has been introduced. A sabbatical means that since you're in an integrated program and you don't have work experience. And when I say work experience, it's basically working at one job or working at a job for more than 6 months. That is what they count as work experience. So since you do not have work experience, they have given us an option of going into the industry, working for up to 2 years, and coming back for our MBA after 2 years. So that's basically 3 years of my BBA, 2 years of working, and then 2 years of MBA, which generally a lot of people do because MBAs are meant for work experienced people who have some industry knowledge, are coming back to learn more and getting better career prospects. So we have been introduced to that option. I did not choose it. This year, in fact, a lot of our batch students who were thinking about it did not choose it given the COVID situation. But it's a good option to have. It's a good option to explore,
Correct.
and it's good enough that we've been provided with the opportunity of at least going and working if we want to, and not taking our MBA right away. Apart from that, sorry, what was your first question, sir?
The question was,
Sorry.
so what are you doing now? So now
Right, right, right.
in the first year, do you have a clarity where you're heading? What are your goals? How do you intend to go about? Could be fuzzy, could be a directional call. You would be,
Right.
something, right?
Right. So based on the subjects I liked, I started doing a few certification courses. So I picked up CFA, I picked up some marketing courses, I picked up some courses to know what I like better. Now, even though I know the theory of what I'm trying to do, the practical implication of it is different, and that is what the MBA program is to provide me. So I am trying to find an area based on the subjects I like, but nothing will be clear to me till the time I actually sit in an MBA class, study a case, you know, have been asked questions. I will not be clear of what I want to go or where I want to go. But for a fact, I know that I so this part I'm sure of. There are people after the IPM program who feel that maybe they don't want an MBA. Maybe they're not looking for a corporate job. Maybe they're looking for, say, a government UPSC job, a research think tank job, or maybe a master's in economics, or maybe a master's in only statistics. I am sure I want to get into general management. That is what. That is why I am a lot more uh, clear about where I'm heading.
So interesting. I thought you were most likely more keen on finance, but
I,
interesting. You're keeping your options open. Very interesting.
right, right.
Keeping your options open. Okay. So with that, this is a question which we wanted to ask as it is. So who is it for and who is it not for? So this IIM Indore integrated program. So when you're in 12th standard, okay, there is a huge rat race all going on. This guy has to do IIT नहीं किया तो career खराब हो गया, law किया तो career खराब हो
Yeah.
गया, yeah, BBA, BMS, and so many new options now, liberal arts, so fantastic work has been done by a lot of institutions. So there is a far greater exposure in terms of choices. I won't say the exposure, there is a way to go in terms of 11th and 12th standard, but at least you have a far greater option. So
Right.
who is this course for and who is it not for?
So I would suggest the course is for anybody and everybody in any stream who wants to pursue any form of management later. But to say this, I mean that you do not have to leave your primary interest. So what I mean is, suppose I was somebody who was extremely keen on designing, and I chose this over probably going to, say, UID, then that is not a good option for me, because I had a keen area of interest. I knew the degree that I was trying to go for, but because I got a lucrative brand, I shifted to an IIM. That is the ideology that one should not have. Now, I know people who couldn't get into IITs, probably cleared their mains, got a decent college, but then got an IIM. Their parents told them, "ठीक है, IIT नहीं तो IIM सही," and they came here. That ideology is not helpful, because those people would have done wonderfully if they would have picked up a college of their interest, because they wanted to do technology, they wanted to do engineering, or they wanted to pursue some other course. And those are the kind of people who this course is not for. So while IIM as a brand becomes lucrative to you, all I'm trying to say is, if you know your degree first and then opt for a program, because when you do it the other way around, you're likely to miss out on something, you're likely to miss out on the experience of learning something that you really wanted to do, because this program is not for that. The program is actually meant for people who want to do management of any sort, for that matter, who probably want to.
So basically, it is not a shortcut to MBA. So if you say that
That is true.
so you get in, you directly get out with an MBA degree.
That
That's
was
how one should look at it. And say that why to invest in graduation of engineering? Straight away put the guy in MBA.
That's just super. I will tell. I mean, I would have I mean, to somebody who really likes economics, I would say, probably get a BSc economics and then come for an MBA, because that gives you a lot more perspective into your degree and then an MBA. So this is what I would suggest: कि mat karo, don't fudge with your career like that. But this is an extremely good program if you want to learn everything, study everything, become like an like a holistically viewed person. That is it's a great program.
So you can say that also if you don't have any very specific interest, as in engineering or maybe economics, then this is the program. Can you say?
Right.
That if you are not very sure whether you want to do coding too much or you want to become a software engineer, or you really want to do economics, badly, and if you're not sure about it, then maybe this is a much better because you get the 3 years to identify what you want to do, or maybe exposed to wide variety, whereas going somewhere else you would have had less variety.
Definitely, I would suggest that this is for anybody who realized that okay, they could have actually liked 5 different things from 3 different streams. Definitely for that person,
Right.
Beautifully designed like that. Yeah.
So I think we've had a long call, and more or less, I think I have had covered variety which I wanted to be in place. You know, one area which I think I didn't ask, but I think you've covered here. One area which I wanted was any advice to parents. Because parents also take so much interest, and sometimes they're also so involved in this decision, because this is well, this is
yeah.
admission, they are not so much involved or something. You are also more responsible, you are more exposure capable of taking decision. So generally any word to parents, or how about going about, because one through this process plus decision making in career choices covered mostly, but still maybe what.
So just one thing I would like to say. Don't 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 get scared if your kids don't know what they want to do at this point of time, because it's okay. I mean, it's really okay if they don't know what to do right now, or if they're not sure. But it's not okay if they're not working for something that they want to do. So when I say it's not okay, I'm not saying pressurize them into doing something that they don't want to do, or like tell them pado pado pado, not like that. All I'm saying is you give them the push of telling them that if you get in where you want to be, you'll be happy for the next 3 years of your life. And if you're not where you want to be, those 3 years of your life will be miserable. It will be like that. So what I'm trying to basically say is that when you're a parent, you get involved in your children's life, because you feel a protective, sort of like there's a feeling of you getting involved in their decision making, because you get affected by it also, and you want the best for them. But sometimes at this stage, it's okay to let them choose something for themselves, because at least when they look back, they'll realize that this is something that they chose for themselves, and that it is not something that somebody else did. Although as parents, we have all rights to do it, and we should guide them. But I would just say, let the final call be for themselves. Don't pressurize them into going for an IIM. Don't pressurize them into choosing a brand value or a package that you might get later. Just let them realize what they really want to do, and maybe if they can't do it, give your suggestion or opinion on it, but let the first call be theirs. It's very important, because these 3 years of your lives you will not be making their decisions. So they need to start now. They need to start understanding that okay, if I make this call for myself, or this decision for myself, then I am the one responsible for whatever comes in the future for me, because I chose it. But again, pinch of salt, I'm no parent, so I can't definitely say anything. Yeah.
Thank you, Koish. Great word of advice for everyone.